How's it going, everyone? So today we're going to go over how you can make friends in university. So this is, a tough subject for a lot of people. I think especially with the rise of, phones and everything, Apple smartphones and everything, a lot of people are just living kind of through the digital world nowadays. And so a lot of kind of skills in this domain have probably decreased over the last few years. Obviously, the 2020, 2021 didn't really help with that. But, at the end of the day, making friends is a skill and something you can develop. And a few pointers that I've got here that have helped me, certainly, since I've come into university, again, I just finished up my third year, can hopefully definitely develop you. And again, these are the things that I've learned. Again, when I came into university, it's a bit of a big, scary place, like there's 50,000 people, it seems like there's so many people, but it can also be quite alone, and quite, individualized and everything like that. And it can make you feel like there's no one really to talk to if you don't do that. So I've got a 5-step plan, which you firstly need to look at. And the first step may seem a bit obvious, but it's actually to go to university. So again, like I said, it may seem like a bit simple, but you need to be on premises at the physical location of your university to begin with. So many people skip out in this, I'll tell you a few things that's not being at university. Watching a recorded lecture that was made, last week at home, that's not being at university. Going to work or something, that's not university. Being at home in bed, that's not university. I don't know, there's so many things, but it's like a lot of people just skip this simple fundamental step. Like, you're not going to have friends show up on your doorstep. You can drop that to the side if you think that that's a possibility. It's not going to happen. And even by miracle, if somehow it did, there's no point hedging your bets on it, because it's very unlikely at the very least. So you may as well drop that and be like, okay, if I want friends from, say, university, I need to be present on campus. I need to be physically in the classroom, which is my second step here. So a lot of people skip out on this step one and don't go to university. But for the people who do and say they do actually go to campus, a lot of people then skip out on step 2 of going to class. They'll just skip class and stay on campus in like the library, maybe with like one other person or by themselves even. Like, how is that going to help you make more friends and meet new people if you're just in the library doing individual work? A lot of the time in the library, if you're talking and stuff like that, people will tell you to be quiet. It's not really a good place to just make friends in the library unless, you're already with a friend and then they introduce you to another person who they've just met or something like that. But if you're just by yourself, especially, or you're just with one other friend and you're not, talking to any new people, it's not really the best place. A good place to meet people is in class. And so that goes on to the next point here. Where in class, you have to sit next to someone. You can't just be sitting by yourself and expect for people to come to you. Like, obviously that would be great. And, some of the time it will happen. But if you're the one wanting to make friends, you've got to show some initiative and go to them, If you've got a big lecture hall, say, there's 300 people that can sit in there and only maybe like 100 people come, there's going to be a lot of space, there's going to be a lot of negative space there where people just aren't, filling the room and, people are just sitting individually. Go to someone. And then that goes obviously onto step 4, which is talk to them, Like, you're not just going to make a friend by sitting and staring at them awkwardly over the course of your 2-hour lecture. You've got to say something. Now, this can be difficult because obviously you don't want to seem awkward and seem like you're trying too hard to make a friend or anything. And that's very understandable. I think a good way to kind of ease into the conversation a little bit more is doing something a bit like asking them about the work. Like, say your teacher's putting up something, your lecturer's putting up something on the board, and maybe it's a concept you do understand. Like, even if you understand it, you can just act like you're a little bit unsure and ask the person next to you and be like, oh, do you understand this? Like, maybe can you just explain this one little point to me or something like that? And that can kick off the conversation really well. Obviously you can just start off when you sit next to them and be like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Which I would recommend, because the longer you put it off, say you're in a 2-hour lecture and you don't talk to them for the first hour, and then the second hour you start talking to them, it's a bit awkward because you weren't really talking at all. But if you said hi to them at the start and it's just you two sitting next to each other, it's more like fluid, and it's a lot just easier to keep talking from there. So again, don't feel the need to keep filling the silence, and even if there does go a little bit of a silent spot where you guys aren't saying much for a period of the class, that's okay. You don't need to just talk endlessly. But yeah, like I was saying, say your teacher's putting up a question on the board, even if you don't understand it, you can just ask them for help on one little point. And from there, if they say, okay, this is how you do it and everything, and you're like, oh, maybe give them a bit of a compliment, like, oh, like, you did that really well, like, have you been reading the content really closely, or like, where do you get these skills from? Say you're in a maths class or a law class, like, where'd you learn this from? And maybe they'll say something there which you can pick up on. They'll be like, oh, like, my school taught it really well, or something like that, so I've got some foundational knowledge from there. And that gives you an opening, like, they've just mentioned their school. Ask them about it. If they mention a one-word thing, or something like that, you can keep bringing that up. That helps the conversation to keep flowing and just talking further. And then obviously, step 5 here, repeat. You can't just do this once. You've got to keep going, and not just only with this, say, one class, with this one person you've met. You want to obviously meet them on that day, but also in the weeks to follow, say, for the rest of the semester and however long. But also in your other classes, you're probably taking more than one class a semester. Most people do probably 3 or 4. I'm doing 4 a semester, which is, like a full-time load. So that's how I would go about it, certainly. Just a simple 5 steps, And like I said, they're all quite obvious. They're all quite logical. Nothing's here that is going to astound you or anything like that. But they're all things which are integral, You can't really get around these. They're fundamental to making friends at university, really. A few other things which I've got, some more tips for actually ending up doing this and making more friends is, I've got a few more, so we'll start with one. So joining clubs and societies. Currently, as you can see, I'm involved in 3 different ones. It's really, for me, I'm in our university's law society, I'm in a consulting club, and I'm in the marketing society. To be honest, the marketing society I don't do too much in, which is not good. I should probably do more. But the law society and the consulting club, I'm more heavily involved with. And I've met so many people from there and stuff that I have hung out with outside university, and that's kind of looked at as being like the gold standard, for a friend. If you can bring that friend that you have in university outside of university, and now you're just like friends in general, they're not just a university friend, they're a friend, that's what you really want. So yeah, clubs and societies are a really good place to do that, because like we were just talking about, when someone, say, in class, they'll mention something like, oh, like, I learned how to be good at law from a subject, a foundational subject I took at school or something like that. Like, they'll mention their school, that's something they're interested in. When you're at a society or a club like this, that's for something specific, like the law society, like a consulting club, like a marketing society, whatever club. There's clubs for all the different ethnicities out there, to be honest, as well. Like, you can find like the Asian club at your university, probably, if like that's what you are, or like, all the different races and everything like that as well. And if that's, something you're interested in, something that you want to take further, then by all means, like, that's a great place to start, and you find people with the same interests, and then you can just go from there. And it already eliminates that kind of thing of trying to find an interest, because you've got that interest, you've got something you can talk about. You can be like, oh, like, I like marketing, so do you. Okay, let's talk about that, And even, again, a lot of the time, something big which I always thought with these clubs at university, because I didn't really get involved in many clubs until this year, again, my 3rd year, maybe 2nd year of university, but like first year, I never really did, because I had this kind of preconceived notion that all the university clubs, they were just like more work and stuff. Like, say the law society, like, I would never join that in the first year, because I always just thought like, oh, it's just like more law work, it's just like doing more homework, like, why would I do that, But when you actually go to it, you realize like, no, like, it's very like socially oriented, just to like have people talk to each other and everything and have fun. So that's why I would heavily recommend joining these, And yeah, a lot of them are dedicated to fun. They really are. So big tip there. Again, not something like, again, this is something that you hear from a lot of people. It's not something that you've never heard before, but still obviously rings true. Okay, so this next one is something you may not have heard too much about before, but obviously, well, this point that I've got down here is maybe something you haven't heard too much about before, but this point here is still pretty obvious. So ask them for, something to say in contact when you do meet someone, whether it be at a club or whether it be in class or something like that. You've got to have some type of method for staying in contact, especially because as the semester wanes, people do tend to miss class a bit. So if you never meet them again after, say, week 3 or week 4 of the semester, you may have potentially missed out on a friend. So you want to have some type of method. So as you can see here, I've got Facebook as best, but Instagram isn't too bad. Obviously, there's some other alternatives, like you could ask them for their phone number or something like that as well. But why I've got Facebook as best, and again, this is kind of a minor point, like, it's not too major. You could go either, but and I've done obviously both, and people have asked me for both, say, as well. But Facebook, I would say, is best, just because it's regarded as more of like a social app, which people just tend to use more. That's why I would go more with it. Instagram just has a little bit of a stigma, especially if you're like looking like cross-gender, like if you're a guy and you're talking to a girl. Again, guys and girls can be friends. There's a bit of debate around it, whether people think that or not. I think they can be. Half the world's guys, half the world's girls. So, I very much think you can just have a platonic friendship. But, some people disagree, whatever. I'm not really going to get into that. But, especially when you are cross-gender, there is like a little bit of just a kind of unspoken thing of like, is this person flirting with me? Are they not? Who knows? So that's why I think, if you ask someone for their Facebook, they're not really going to think you're, trying to ask them out or something like that. But Instagram, they might. That's the only thing. They might, especially if it's cross-gender. Obviously, if it's, if you're both of the same gender, probably not. Obviously, gay relationships can exist and everything like that, certainly. But yeah, they're probably not going to think that for the most part. So yeah, that's why I think Facebook is best for that kind of situation. Also, I just think Instagram, because it's like a follow for follow type of scenario, and either person can unfollow the other person at any time. It's just like, what if that person unfollows you and then you still see them in class the week later? It's just kind of awkward, especially if you're one of those people, which I used to be like, which is just kind of stupid of me. Where I used to check like whether people kept following me. So stupid. I stopped doing it now, but I would literally like go through my Instagram followers like routinely. So stupid. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, if you're one of those people that do that, it's really going to hit you mentally. If you're like, how can I be friends with this person if they just unfollowed me on Instagram? And some of the time it might just be an accident as well, but it still might just hit you mentally. So that's why Instagram, I wouldn't recommend it. Like Facebook, no one's really going through and unfriending people on Facebook unless you genuinely like had beef with them or something, but otherwise you're not really unfriending people. So that's also why I think Facebook is better. Okay, so this next point. This next point is take initiative. You've got to take the friendship from inside class to outside class. So again, like I've got here, this is the key point. You've got to try to find a shared interest and you go from there. You go there, because if say you're talking to someone in class and, you've got a good vibe in there and everything like that. If you're just like, oh, we should catch up. And they're like, yeah, like, let's do that. And then you say, just go, for lunch or for dinner at a restaurant, or you just go to a bar and have a few drinks. If neither of you are like foodies and you're really like interested in, having lunch or having dinner or having drinks or something like that, then yeah, that can work. But if you're not and you're just doing it just to like catch up, it's probably going to be ephemeral. It's probably going to be the only time or one of the only times you ever see each other, because you've really got no other incentive to keep doing that, other than, just for the friendship. But a much better way, in my opinion at least, to keep that friendship going is finding a shared interest and doing that together. So, maybe you're both really into weightlifting and you're like, okay, like let's, work out together. It doesn't have to be every single day, but maybe it's once a week, once a month even. Who knows? Maybe it's rock climbing like I've been doing with some of my friends recently, which I really enjoy. Top rope. It's so high, I hate going up there because it's just so high off the ground. But bouldering, which is closest to the ground, it's like, with top rope has like a harness, so even if you go like 20 meters in the air, you are kind of safe, but it still just freaks me out because it's so high. But bouldering, you don't have a harness, but you're closer to the ground. I like that one a little bit more. It tests you a bit more as well, in my opinion. But yeah, finding a shared interest, and then you guys can do that regularly together. Maybe you're interested in race car driving. You both go see, some race or something. I don't know. Together. That's much better. That's a much better place to start off with. Finding a shared interest and then going from there. Again, maybe if on the first time you guys meet each other out of class, you do go for lunch or something like that. And then while you're at lunch, you're just chatting or whatever, then you find a shared interest there, and then maybe you keep going. Like, that could also be worthwhile. So, it just depends. Also, obviously, like, yeah, you can text them outside of class, ask what they're interested in. See, if you are on Instagram or Facebook, you can see their photos or whatever their bio is. Maybe that'll give you a hint of something they're interested in. So, some thoughts there. And persevere. Just like anything, you can't give up. Like, at the end of the day, think about like in class, if you've got a concept which you're not grasping at first, you're not just going to give up and be like, okay, this isn't for me. This concept isn't for me. I'm not going to study this one. I'll just do all the other easy concepts that I am understanding. And when I get onto the exam, I'm not going to answer this question. I'll do all the other ones. You're not going to be like that, obviously. So it's like friends at university. You can't give up. You just got to keep trying at the end of the day and keep iterating. When you do something and you realize, hey, okay, maybe this wasn't the best thing to say. I should have said this in this scenario. Okay, memorize that, understand that, revise your mistakes, and in the next situation, be better from that. That's what you really want to do. So yeah, just persevering, like in anything, like you would in class, like you would in exercise, in any part of life. You just got to keep going, And then I think this is the last point I've got. Yeah. So it's an abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. And this is important, especially because you probably only need a couple of friends. You really only do. And when we think about this, we'd rather probably have quality friends than quantity, because realistically, you can probably have one or two friends that that you feel really close to, and you can talk about like pretty much anything with, and that's all the friends you need. You don't need more than like one or two if they're like really good friends. On the other side of it, you can have 20 or 30 friends that maybe you're not really that close to or anything, and you don't really feel like your social needs are being met. So I think in a social situation, you should realize, hey, I'm only probably need one or two friends. So you can go into it, when you go into class, when you go into a university club or something, you can be like, hey, like, I'm trying to see, like, do I like this person? Rather than just trying to get them to like me, That's the abundance mindset. The abundance mindset is, do I like this person? The scarcity mindset is just trying to get them to like me, to like you, Like, you don't want to beg on your knees. You don't want to get down on your two knees and be like, please, can you be my friend? Because that's just not going to work out well. So having that kind of mindset shift will certainly hold you in good stead, because you'll be more attractive to the other person. It'll be more appealing. They'll be like, okay, like this person's like a respectable person. They're not like lowering the standards or anything like. And again, humans are very good like intuitively at just just like sensing this stuff, even if they're not consciously thinking it. But yeah, that's just some stuff I've learned, certainly. Also on perseverance, like I remember my university's got this love letters type of forum thing on Facebook. There's like 70,000 people in it. There's so many. But anyway, I don't know who thought this would be a good idea anyway. Because it's like, you've got like people on there that are like, oh, like I saw this random girl on a Wednesday, in this library at 10 a.m. or something like that. You were really cute. Like, what's your name? I wanted to say hi. And it's just like you thought this was a better idea on like anonymously on a forum of 70,000 people to express your interest in this person instead of just saying hi in real life. Like, I don't even understand it. But anyway, the point of what this was that I was going to bring this up, this sub form or form for, was because on there, I remember I saw this post a few months ago. This person was saying like he just finished his 5th year of his degree and everything. And, he's never went to any clubs, any friends, and he just graduated. And yeah, like I said, he just graduated and he made never one friend in university at all. And his last sentence was like, don't be like me. Like, join friends, go to classes, be just, the person you want to be more sociable and everything, basically, was the point of it. And I think that's so true, Like, obviously, hearing stories like that is sad, definitely. But at least he's taking a learning curve out of it, which probably that person can use in the future, in, say, a 9-to-5 job where maybe they're going or whatever they're doing now. And, again, a learning point for everyone else reading it, Like, you've just got to put yourself out there more. Like I said, a friend's not going to show up on your doorstep and become your best friend or anything like that. You got to go out there, take initiative, It's kind of like the quote, it may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility. Like what happened in 2020, 2021 when there was lockdowns and everything. That wasn't anyone's fault necessarily, It wasn't your fault, at least, that happened, that, it was hard to make friends during that period. It's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility to make friends. At the end of the day, like I said, they're not going to show up on your doorstep. It's your responsibility to go out there and search for it. A few photos I just wanted to include in here, just because this was me last week. This was at a clubbing event. I don't really go clubbing much, but I did last week for like the first time in 6 months. And because I've got this like university kind of tutor type of role where like some people do know me, like, obviously, like, I'm just a regular person at the end of the day, but, like, some people do know me a little bit, and so I'm, like, because I wanted to get pretty smashed here, not gonna lie, and drink quite a bit, and I like to dance kind of aggressively to the music, not, like, aggressively, but just, like, I like to, like, get into it, I really like to get into it, and so, because, like, you're on the dance floor of the club, it's kind of, like, you end up pushing against people a little bit, which isn't good. And like, I didn't want to push against people, but it just kind of ends up happening like that. And so I was like, because people know me, like, okay, again, it is a club, it's dark and everything in there. There's so many people. So I was like, people probably aren't going to recognize me, but just in case they did, I went and put these sunglasses on, and I don't actually have in this photo, but I do in this one. I'm wearing this cap that my friend gave me because I was just trying to go incognito. You know, I was trying to be anonymous on the dance floor. And so I was just like dancing a bunch. And so yeah, you can see some photos of me here. I'm looking bloated in these, not gonna lie. I think I just had a bunch of bad food and drink that night. You know, I think I had like 2 or 3 burgers that night and a bunch of alcohol, which again isn't good. But I don't really have that stuff often, so it's not too bad to have it once at the very least. But anyway, that was this pretty much video. You know, as you can see here, like, look at that jawline. Like, you could slice bread with that, you know, like, that's going straight through butter as well. And chain, that's my friend's chain as well. It's not mine. But yeah, you can see I'm getting pretty into it here, you know. So yeah, anyway, that's just that. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. Obviously, I hope it does all work out for you guys, and you do make all the friends you want at university, and you have a ball there, definitely. But yeah, like I said, thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.